All right, well, we're back in the garage and I'm injured, so I've got a bit of time on my hands, and I thought it'd be time to look into something I've been thinking about for a while in this sport, and that's the prize money in this sport. It's not often talked about, so I thought we might delve into it with a YouTube video and dig into things, see how it really is, what it pays at the moment, what it's always paid. I don't think it's changed since I began. So yeah, this is specifically for the downhill World Cups, and then we'll compare that to some other sports and other disciplines as well. So let's go. Got to get into onto the laptop because otherwise we're not going to have all this data. But currently, if you won the South Korea World Cup like Asa Vermette did, you would get 3,750 euros. If you were second like Loic Bruni was, you get 2,100 euros. And if you're third with a crash like Amir Peron was, you get 1,250 euros. And this goes all the way back to 10th place, where Andy Kolb took home 200 euros for his 10th place result. It also costs to enter 150 euros for an elite rider, or an elite team is 40,000 euros. So I think it's 44,000 euros. So that works out to quite a bit less than maybe you would think it was. When I started in 2008, I can only remember that I didn't win any World Cups back then, and I haven't in the downhill World Cups, but I have in an enduro one, so that's my experience with it there. But we'll dig into that one later. When I started, it was 3,750 from memory. It hasn't changed, and I've even found a little video of John Tomac in the mid-90s, and he confirms that it was 3,000 back then. So going all the way back to the 90s, getting 3,000 for a win, that equates to about 8,250 in today's money with the inflation. So should the prize money have inflated as well? And then the other question we can ask is, should they even pay prize money? There's many other sports we can compare to, and I'm going to dig into a few of those now that don't actually pay prize money, and you would think that they do. So we'll start off with that. The first one being MotoGP. That's probably like the glitz and glam sport of two-wheeled racing, and everyone that's into two wheels kind of follows. I follow MXGP, MotoGP, Supercross, anything two wheels really. I'm all about two wheels. So MotoGP, they don't actually have any prize money as far as I can see, but there is quite a different system in that the teams, we'll just dig into this now. Google is my information source for this one, but I have spoken to some friends involved in MotoGP, and they can't confirm that there is any prize money. So I don't think there is prize money in MotoGP, which is, you would say, is probably the pinnacle of two-wheeled racing and the absolute, I don't know, it's the highest paying two-wheeled racing possible, I think. So there is apparently no prize money, but instead of flat cash payouts for race wins, teams operate on annual financial subsidies from Dorna, while riders earn their income through guaranteed base salaries and performance-based bonuses outlined in their contracts. So there's actually an annual subsidy depending on I think it depends also on the rider's results, which then pays to the team. So depending on how well your rider did in the previous season, depends on how much money you get from the organisation, which is quite an interesting structure and quite good for those teams that they actually get paid back the money from the broadcast rights. I'm not sure our sport is of the scale that it could do that, so I don't know that would be possible, but that would be a good way to do things in an ideal world. So there, yeah, MotoGP, you would have thought there would be prize money. There's not. So yep, that's that. And then if we go to something more similar, more of a cycling discipline, we can go to cyclocross. Somehow, cyclocross World Cups pay more than downhill or cross-country World Cups. So they start at 5,000 euros for the win, and it goes 3,500 for second, 3,000 for third, 2,700 for fourth, 2,500 for fifth. Goes all the way back to 40th place. So if you finished 40th place in a cyclocross World Cup, you get 300 euros. And to me, that's quite a good system. I'm not sure how cyclocross is getting all this money, or why the UCI values cyclocross prize money as a higher rate than downhill or cross country. But somehow they managed to pay out $39,000 for men's and women's individually in cyclocross. So they must have some sort of sponsorship paying this, because the other thing is with prize money in mountain biking, the local organizer is responsible for paying the prize money per race. So that falls on the local organizer that has to pay that amount out. The Warner Brothers, as far as I can see, they only pay the overall prize money. Probably saves them quite a lot of money, and it puts that burden upon the local organizer. So it depends on what sort of sponsors they can get for their event to run it and then pay their prize money. But yeah, cyclocross does it well, because to pay €300 to the guy in 40th place, at least he can get his entry back, maybe some fuel money. And I think, personally, I think that those guys in the back of the field are the ones that need the prize money more than the ones at the front. Generally, the ones at the front are paid quite well. So your likes of your Loic Bruni or Amaury Perron, they're paid quite well. Do they need the big prize money or not? That's the question. And I'm not going to answer it, but you can drop a comment and answer that one if you want. I'm unsure if it's the best way in mountain biking anyway to pay the money to the guys at the front, or even to have prize money at all when comparing to some of these other sports that don't have prize money, and you would have thought that they did. So yeah. We can now go to the Red Bull Rampage, which is actually the most lucrative event in professional mountain biking. It's not racing though, but it is mountain biking. So they're the most lucrative event, and their prize structure goes first place $100,000, second place $40,000, and third place $20,000. So yeah, if you're prepared to really send it at Rampage, you can win some serious money. And I've seen that quite often they win a truck as well. Some of the athletes I've seen first place, I think they win a truck. I think there is some other prizes, and I think it goes all the way back to 10th place. So yeah, 18,000 for fourth place as well. And all the riders get a show-up fee, which Google is telling me is 10,000. That generally pays for the dig crew, for the accommodation, for everything, which is quite a good format. And shout out to Red Bull for running their events like that and looking after the athletes. It's quite nice to do a Red Bull event when you're like looked after at the event. As an athlete, it's quite a nice feeling. So yeah, shout out to them for putting that on. And yeah, it's a lot of risk to do Rampage, but if you do win, you do win some money. So it's quite nice to see. Red Bull also runs Red Bull Hardline. I think from what I can see, the Red Bull Hardline prize money was £12,000. So yeah, if you won Red Bull Hardline, you win £12,000. I'm not sure how that differs between Wales or Australia, or even the Canadian one that's coming up this year. But yeah, Red Bull is putting some prize money back into the events, and they don't publicize the prize money either. So you never see a big check at a Red Bull event, or maybe at Rampage, but I haven't seen big checks at Red Bull Hardline. So yeah, that's quite cool that they do give the money back. And now we move on to MXGP, which is motocross. And that's essentially the MXGP will probably be the closest thing to the UCI World Cup series for motocross. And they're a world championship. They race around the world. They actually don't have any prize money either. And the riders rely on their contracts from the sponsors and bonuses. So yeah, I would have thought MXGP would have had prize money. It seems they probably turn over quite a lot in gate sales. Like when you see some of those motocross events with a full paddock full of fans, they're probably getting 40,000 people, and they're all charged gate tickets. That probably pays for the event to run, but also you could probably pay some prize money out of that. There must be a bit of money disappearing somewhere in the MXGP, but also I can see that there's not that many riders on the gate at some of those international events, which is kind of a shame to watch a world championship event when they can't even fill the gate and they only have half the field in a 40-man gate. That's quite poor. So hopefully mountain biking doesn't head that direction and we get too expensive that we price ourselves out and have not even a full field of riders. But yeah, MXGP, no prize money either. looking over last season, there's 167 average entries to a World Cup, and an elite rider pays 150 euros. A junior rider pays 80 euros, and the junior rider prize money is almost maybe a little bit of a joke to me. I almost feel bad for the juniors taking home a total of, so if you finished 10th place in junior, you paid 80 euros to enter. I'm not sure why you even pay this out, because it seems kind of almost like a comedic joke. It's 20 euros if you finish 10th place at a Junior World Cup, and you pay 80 to enter. If you won the Junior World Cup, you get 200. If you're second, 130. Third, 100. And then fourth place gets their entry fee back and 80 euros. To me, personally, I think juniors probably deserve the prize money more in some regards, because a lot of them, their parents are funding it, or it's hard to put together the money to go and race. I know a lot of families in New Zealand, they're trying to get their kids over to Europe and race. It's very expensive to do that. And if you're trying to do that from the other side of the world, it's even more so. So yeah, I think junior prize money could increase, and maybe that's a good way to reward them potentially, and reward people that need the prize money. I'm not sure the top end of the sport really need it. The other thing is the team entry cost for an elite team increased to 45,000 euros. That increased in 2025 from 11,000 euros in 2024 when the Warner Brothers takeover happened. So yeah, it's quite a big increase. And that has me also questioning, what do they get for this extra 34,000 euros? But I'm not the person to answer, but I do ask the question. And we'll cut to a piece with John Tomac from Insider MTB podcast. Shout out to them. We'll drop their link in the description below. He had a great interview with John Tomac, and it's definitely worth a watch. The legend Johnny T. And he explains that in the mid-90s, so 95, or between 95 and 98, I think it was, when he was talking around this period, he was getting 3,000 euros or $3,000 prize money for winning a World Cup, which is essentially still the same as it is today at 3,750. So yeah, here's the piece with John.
You know, make a couple hundred grand maybe, 150 or something.
Were the prize purses big then, or no? Or was this just all
World Cups back then were $3,000 to win.
Okay, so not much. Yeah, no. Probably the same anyways now. Yeah.
It was fun though, because it was always cash.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Euro?
No way.
No way.
US dollars.
Really? Okay.
Every World Cup.
No way, really?
$100 bills.
Wow. Okay, just stuffing it in the bag, we're out. Okay. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, one year I went and did the World Cup finals. This is in 91. Yeah, 91. I was living in Belgium with my teammate Frankie Andreu, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to go do World Cup finals in Berlin. I'll see you in 2 days.
Yeah.
And then I go do the race, and I come back, and I have like my World Cup trophies and unpack my bikes. And I was like, check this out, Frankie. And I threw like, I don't know what it was, like 10 grand in cash on the counter.
No way. And
he's like, no way.
And then we go to the World Championships. They have a bit more prize money, but there is a little bit of a disparity here that somehow the UCI snuck in, I think maybe 2 years ago. They've changed the downhill prize money to be lower than the cross-country prize money. So if you win the cross-country World Championships, you win 8,000 euros. If you win the downhill World Championships, you only win 5,000. And then the worst part is that if you win the EMTB World Championships, you win 5,000. If you win the EDR World Championships, you win 5,000, which is fair. If you win the EDRE, you win 5,000. And if you win the snow bike, downhill, or dual slalom, you win 5,000, which is kind of a joke because snow bike downhill does not quite seem the same scale as the downhill World Championships. And it shouldn't be on the same kind of reward as a downhill World Championship. The snow bike World Championships seems like a little bit of a random event the UCI's tried to invent in hope of getting into the Winter Olympics. I'm not sure if that will ever happen, but yeah, I'm not sure that it really justifies the same prize money as the downhill World Championship. So if you finish second in the Downhill World Championship, you get 2,500. If you finish third, you get 1,250. And then in cross country, it's 4,000 and 2,000. A cross country team relay gets 15,000. I think they've got 4 riders in a team for the win. 7,500 for second, 3,750 for third. And then downhill junior, 1,250 for the win, 675 for second, 340 for third. And finally, we'll move on to the US Open of mountain biking, which is an event run by Clay Harper. Shout out to Clay, because he's putting together the biggest prize purse for a downhill race in the sport. He puts together around $80,000, and it works out $15,000 for the win, and then they rolls back from there. He's got $15,000 for the win at the US Open. Second place gets $7,500. Third place, $3,750, which is the same as a World Cup win. Fourth place, $1,875, and fifth place, $937.50. Massive shout out to Clay for putting that together off his own back, and then trying to reward some of these athletes and run an event of that scale with decent prize money. Is awesome to see. So yeah, shout out to Clay, and we'll try and get Clay's opinion on why he thinks prize money is important in mountain biking and why he puts in that much effort to make it happen. So yeah, over to Clay. It's about the 5th time lucky we've got Clay Harper on the call, and we might finally have some audio. And Clay is also the director of the US Open, and the director of the Pro Downhill Series.
Correct.
Which is, the US Open is actually the highest prize money event in downhill. So yeah, shout out to Clay. And I've got a quick question for you, Clay. Why is it important to offer athletes great prize money?
Oh, it's like, you and I have talked about it a bunch. It's a big subject, right? Like, it could take a long time to get to the heart of it, but like, you know, to give you a quick answer, like you asked me, like, give me a quick answer on this. I break it into 2 buckets, right? Like 2 reasons. The first is ROI to the athletes. And that's like the most elementary, right? It's obvious. Like, athletes are spending huge amounts of time training, financial resources, and like a big risk of injury, you know, and they're dedicating so much of their life to it. So it's just like, it makes sense to have ROI for the athletes. They need a return on their investment. And the way the system in our sport works, you've heard me say this to you before, I consider it like a hybrid sport, right? We don't exist off prize money alone. That's for sure. The prize money's pretty low in our sport. And we don't have a good enough system of team salaries to cover every athlete. So we have this hybrid where like prizing is still really important, I think, as a component for athletes, particularly in our series. And what I mean by that is, you know, if you look at moto or something, there's a handful of other sports. There's like a definitive ecosystem or like economy in place where the athletes are paid by their teams. There's a structure. There's like a well-known baseline, and if you're in there, you're getting paid. In mountain biking, you can make it to the top with basically no salary. You can make it to the podium just on your own, almost, you know, still has that element to it. So it's important from that respect to offer it. Mm-hmm. And we're not at this point, like, say, golf, where they rely completely off salary, or completely off of prize money with a little bit of sponsorship. We're definitely in the middle. Yeah, I would like to see prize money be higher. I don't think it's high enough. Yeah. You know, and the second reason for prize money being important from my perspective and our perspective, Pro Downhill Series, and where we're driving to this, is like, it's narrative. There's no narrative without prize money. It doesn't even have to be prize money. The money within the sport, we'll say, athletes need to be rewarded. There's aspirational goals with that. It drives fans. Like, people want to follow that. People want to see people win. People want to see people make money. Yeah. And it adds so much to the narrative of the sport. If somebody's taking a risky downhill run and it's like a non-fan says, oh, it must be made, like, what's that worth? That must be worth so much. Yeah. They find out it's worth almost nothing. They're like, well, I'm less interested now. Yeah. So compare it to golf, right? so many people don't actually play golf or aren't really fans of golf. But if a highlight comes on and there's a guy making a 16-foot putt with a break to the right for $1 million, you're tuned in. Like, you want to see him get it, you know? So I think that narrative is important, combined with the ROI for the athletes. They have to have ROI. We want to get the best athletes in the sport. There has to be ROI for them.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I think the prizing needs to go up for both of those reasons. Better narrative, better ROI for athletes. You know, as a percentage of capabilities, like Pro Downhill Series, we're doing the best we can.
Yeah.
As an organizer of events, you know, we own Pro Downhill Series. We own all the events. We're not relying on local organizations to pay prize money. We pay it all.
Yeah.
And like, as a percentage of capabilities, I think we pay really well, but I can tell you it's hard. Like, it's really hard to put on an entire event, pay all our staff, do everything, and then drive the prize money up too. So
yeah.
What I'm getting at by that is it takes like kind of a belief from the industry. Like, brands should be behind this. We should get a little more behind a higher prize purse, not just because that money goes straight to the athletes, but because really it adds to the hype of the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's my hot take for you.
Awesome. Thanks very much. I think we need to sit down and do a longer form chat about this and really dig into it.
Absolutely. You know, I'm game.
All right. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Wayne.
So thanks Clay, and thanks to Clay for putting together the Pro Downhill Series in the US, which is a growing series. And then also putting together the US Open every year. It's unreal to see someone do this off their own back and put it together such a great series, and prize money back to the athletes is really cool to see. My opinions on the matter, I'm not sure. If we do have prize money, I think we should try and increase it and have it looking more prestigious like Clay does in the US or like Rampage does. But otherwise, I don't know if we should have prize money, or the prize money should go further down the field. It's something I've done with the Privateer project. And prior to that, I did the Privateer Awards. I started that in 2020, and looking through some of these names here, I think we've had some pretty special winners on there. We can go through the list. We've got the Denim Destroyer. We've got Tuhoto Ariki. We've got Camille Belanche, Luke Meyer-Smith. We've got, who have we got? Ronan Dunn, Lockie Stevens-McNabb, Dante Silva, Lou Ferguson, and Roger Vera. And then Dylan Maples as well. So we've got some impressive riders that have gone on to be factory riders. That was the whole goal of my Privateer project, and also the Privateer Awards, that we would reward the best Privateer performance at those World Cups. And to do that was quite special, and to see what those riders have gone on to do was really cool. So yeah, at one point we were rewarding 2,000 euros per race to the fastest privateer, and that was just all fundraised by myself. I've since stopped doing that as much, but we do have two brands that are supporting the Privateer Award. Shout out to the leagues.co.uk and Fab Art Screen Printing. They're an Australian screen printing company, which they end up donating, I think it works out to 300 Australian Fab Art, and then 100 euros from the leagues. So yeah, pretty cool to see those brands just supporting the privateers, and they pay them directly. I don't need to deal with any of the tax implications that could come from fundraising like I was before. Keeps things a bit more simple. But if anyone's got a better structure and could organise a charity for myself, then reach out, because that would be good. Then we could increase the Privateer Awards like they were at $2,000, 2,000 euros per race. But that was a cool way to do things, to reward the fastest privateers, and I think I would like to see more of that. Like, to me, the top end don't really need the prize money. They're already on great salaries, they've got bonuses, they've got everything else. It's more those ones that are on their way up. And I remember, I think when I won the most prize money I did, I was still kind of on the way up. I won the World Enduro in Rotorua, and I won $4,000 as it was a crankwork stop. Luckily, I won the crankwork stop. Otherwise, I think it was $800 for the other one. So yeah, I got lucky with that one. So I think rewarding the athletes on their way up is a better way to do it than just rewarding the top. But that's not how any other sport does it. So I'm not sure what would be the best method, or how we find a way to give the prize money to those that need it, or not give prize money at all. Maybe like some of these other sports that just don't have prize money and they rely on the sponsorships. The issue with our sport is we don't really have too much outside sponsorships like these other sports have. So most of it's coming from the industry, which at the moment isn't in the greatest place. So it's quite a hard thing to do, to put together a lot of money to be racing already and then to pay out this prize money. So yeah, not sure what would be the best method, but yeah, drop your opinion in the comments and then we can dig into another financial issue in the sport at a later date. And I've got another video planned, I think, to dig into more into the finances of how the sport works. But if you've got any ideas or anything you want to see, reach out, because I've got plenty of time. I've got a separated shoulder and a broken wrist at the moment, so I may as well make use of this time. And thanks for watching. I hope you learned something about prize money in mountain biking.